So, welcome to lesson 4 on pollution. This is the final lesson in the chemistry of the atmosphere unit. You should have a paper copy of the booklet or a digital copy of the booklet, or if not, just your own notebook and pens and paper for making notes from the topic content we're going to go over today. So, as you'll see on page 23 of the booklet, if you can start by pausing the video and just simply reviewing the work from lesson 1 to 3 and having a look at the knowledge check questions that run from page 23 to page 24. If you pause the video now and have a go at those, then we'll review the answers in a moment where you can mark them correct or green pen them and change them as you need to. So pause the video now and have a go at that. Right, hopefully you've had a go at those questions, so if you could just mark them or green pen them as we go through. Name 2 greenhouse gases, CO2 and methane. State the effect of climate change on wildlife, so it can cause temperature and water stress, which can often lead to migration, or sometimes in extreme cases, extinction. State the unit for measuring carbon footprints. Remember that is tons of CO2 per year. And the average carbon footprint for a UK citizen per year is 9.8 tonnes. Suggest a way of reducing the current levels of atmospheric CO2. That could be by reusing renewable energies, which was discussed last lesson. Suggest why education is important in reducing CO2 levels in order to increase awareness of the environmental issues that are associated with it. So, and then on to the next page. Suggest why lifestyle is important in reducing CO2 levels, and the reason is everyone contributes CO2, so therefore everyone can have an impact and make a change. Suggest how taxes can reduce CO2 levels, so it makes combustion of fossil fuels less appealing. And that's what we're going to talk about initially today. So, predict the products of the combustion of a fuel. So remember, combustion is another word for burning. And there are 2 equations that's worth you getting your head around. Is that a fuel plus oxygen, when it's complete combustion, gives you carbon dioxide and water. Now the reason why that is because complete combustion is burning in excess oxygen, or where there is enough oxygen, so that the oxygen combined with carbon that's contained in the fuel to form carbon dioxide. You see a balanced example equation at the bottom there. Whereas incomplete combustion is not quite the opposite, but when it's burning in a limited supply of oxygen. You might say there's not enough. So instead of forming carbon dioxide, you can only form carbon monoxide, which contains 1 oxygen atom per molecule. That's the key difference between the 2 types of combustion. Now, what are the effects of combustion environmentally? Let's have a look at these. So, the combustion of fuels is a major source of atmospheric pollutants. Most fuels, including coal, contain carbon and hydrogen, and may also contain some sulfur. So remember, if it contains carbon and hydrogen, make sure that bit's highlighted. Often we're talking about hydrocarbons, which you get fuels from. So things like petrol and diesel and naphtha. And they may also contain some sulfur. Gases released into the atmosphere when a fuel is burned may include carbon dioxide, water vapour, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and oxides of nitrogen. Now, carbon dioxide is important because it contributes to global warming, trapping long-wave radiation and double covalent bonds of carbon dioxide molecules that are in the atmosphere. So the more molecules there are, the more radiation that's trapped, that's reflected off the Earth, the hotter the Earth gets. Carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide and oxides of nitrogen. Now, carbon monoxide is important because carbon monoxide can cause respiratory illnesses as it prevents red blood cells from carrying oxygen. The reason why it does that is because it binds with hemoglobin that's contained within red blood cells, whose job it is to carry the oxygen within a red blood cell. So that's why carbon monoxide is so dangerous. Oxides of nitrogen can often be produced by car exhaust and cause acid rain. Same as sulfur dioxide. And acid rain can be a big issue when it comes to environmental pollution. So for example, in lakes, when you have acid rain falling on it, you're changing the pH of the lakes, which means often organisms within the lake die because they can't stand the new acidic conditions. Carbon monoxide, the factor of it. So carbon monoxide and soot are produced by incomplete combustion. As we've said already, carbon monoxide, it's worth knowing, two of its properties is that it's colourless and it's odourless, okay? Now, sulfur dioxide is produced by oxidation of sulfur in the fuel. Oxides of nitrogen are produced by the reaction of nitrogen and oxygen in the air at high temperatures involved when fuels are burned. But go back to this idea of soot and carbon particles. These are linked to a process called global dimming, which is basically where particles collect in the atmosphere and start to block out and reflect sunlight entering the atmosphere. So it means that basically less light can reach the Earth's surface. And that can have obviously a massive impact on photosynthesis. And if photosynthesis is affected, plant life is affected. And if plant life is affected, animal life is affected. So that's the link, and that's why it's such an issue. Right, watch the following video, and on your notes page, list some of the common forms of air pollution and the effects that they can have on organisms and the environment. So if you have a look at video 1 in the description now, and if you find a spare notes page or a revision notes book, pause the video and go to video 1 and just see if you can note down any of the common forms of air pollution and any of the effects they can have on organisms in the environment. When you've done that and you've unpaused the video, you can come back and we'll be having a look at this exam question. So pause the video now and have a go at that for me. Right, hopefully you've had a go at that last video and just made some notes and gone over those ideas in terms of common pollutants. Let's have a look at this exam question together. So, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. What is meant by the term a greenhouse gas? Give two human activities that increase the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Increasing amounts of greenhouse gases result in increasing average global temperatures. This is a major cause of climate change. Give 3 effects of climate change. So, simply pause the video and then have a look over your notes from the last couple of lessons, use any of the internet sites we've talked about, any of the videos we've looked at. See if you can have a go answering these questions for me. Once you've done that, unpause the video and we'll go through the answers. Right, hopefully you've unpaused the video, so let's have a little look. So, A, what's meant by the term a greenhouse gas? So greenhouse gas in the atmosphere, what I do is there are gases that maintain temperature on Earth that is high enough to support life. Good. B. 2 human activities that increase the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Burning fossil fuels is one. And another one would be deforestation, because then there are less trees to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And finally, increasing amounts of greenhouse gases result in an increase in the average global temperatures. There's a major cause of climate change. Give 3 effects of climate change. Gone all over them already. A rise in sea levels. More extreme weather conditions. And also things like species extinction, a possibility as well, because of environmental stresses. Good. Right, let's have a little look at the last little bit. So, these 3 gases, just to recap the ideas we've talked about. Carbon monoxide is a toxic gas. It's colourless and odourless, so it's not easily detected. Carbon monoxide combines with hemoglobin in the blood, reducing its capacity to carry oxygen. Bear in mind, one of the examples you might hear about carbon monoxide is that it can be produced by faulty home heating boilers. Good. Sulfur dioxide and oxides of nitrogen. Big issue in causing acid rain, and often they come out of car exhausts, car exhaust fumes. So with that in mind, you can pause the video and you can have a little look at video 2 in the description, just to give you some further context to this. And once you come back, you can just finish off, once you come back, have a little read through and making those final little annotations from what we talked about, and then moving on to the knowledge and application questions on the next page. So, pause that video, have a look at video 2, and then come back, have a go at the knowledge and application questions, and then unpause the video for some answers to finish. Right, hopefully you've had a look at video 2. So if we just have a look and had a go at knowledge application check questions, so let's just go through some of these answers to finish. What's the difference between complete and incomplete combustion? So it's burning with enough or not enough oxygen. How is carbon monoxide formed? It's formed from incomplete combustion. Same with particulate. Soot comes out of incomplete combustion. The screen's gone. Hopefully it'll come back. Bear with me 30 seconds because we're nearly there. Nearly there. I don't know what happened there. So, incomplete combustion as well. So, how are oxides of nitrogen formed? They're formed by nitrogen combining with oxygen. Why is carbon monoxide difficult to detect? Think about those properties we talked about. They're colourless and odourless. So, why is carbon dioxide harmful? Because it can absorb radiation and it heats the earth. 2 effects of sulfur dioxide: acid rain and respiratory problems. Global dimming, like turning the lights off, it means there is less light reaching the Earth's surface. Then, farmers rely on good soil to grow their crops well enough to make a profit. Plants grow in very specific conditions and require the correct amount of fertiliser, water, temperature, light, pH of soil to grow. Suggest how the effects of combustion can affect the growth of plants for the farmers selling corn. So the effects of combustion could cause environmental changes in light and temperature. Thinking by global dimming and warming. Which obviously could change conditions. Change conditions so that plant growth isn't favoured. Excuse me. And then in 2003, the London congestion charge was enforced in central London to reduce the flow of traffic in the capital. Normally working hours from 7 to 6, it was £11.50 per day to each car. Reduction made for cars that are electric, hybrids, or small engines and low CO2 emissions. Suggests the other advantages apart from raising money to the City of London and the people who live there. So obviously by doing that, there's a decrease in CO2 and toxic gases that are produced by cars. And with that, you can have cleaner air, which means you've got less pollution, and also, increase the awareness of global warming and climate change. Might have less respiratory problems caused by toxic gases. And also what you're going to do is you're going to slow any temperature increases that are caused by the gases that are produced by the cars that then change the environmental conditions in and around London. Good, so that is lesson 4 of the Chemistry of the Atmosphere unit and all of the lessons within that unit. So feel free to go back over the videos and your notes and make sure you understand any of the ideas. And obviously, well done.